Test 1, 2. Mr. Brandon Cox. Brandon Cox.
Members and guests will please rise as we're led in prayer by the chaplain to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Truth for today comes from Psalm 34, verse 15. The eyes of the Lord are to the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their prayer. Let's pray. O Lord our God, you are our ever-blessed Father. You are the sovereign ruler of heaven and earth, and nothing escapes your control. And absolutely nothing is able to fly beneath your all-knowing, all-powerful, omnipotent radar. Your eyes are on the righteous, your ears are attentive to their prayers, but the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. Your eyes, O Lord, are in every place, watching the evil and the good. Even in this assembly today, you are watching from your throne room of heaven. Our Father, we ask for your divine favor, that it may rule in this place. We, your leaders, need your help to govern with wisdom the folks entrusted to our care. Our nation is facing difficult uncertainties right now. Oh Lord, please grant clarity from the White House to the State House and to our house to ascertain what is best for our nation, our state, and our homes. Thank you that you hear and answer our prayers, all for your honor, praise, and glory. Amen.
When the roll call, all members please record your presence. When the roll call.
Hi, this is Mayan Schechter with South Carolina ETV, and we're here at the State House. It's week 8 of the legislative session, and as you can probably tell, Gavin Jackson is not here right now. He has a scheduling conflict. So we went for something even better, and we got Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey from Edgefield County to join us today to talk a little bit about this week of session. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
joining me.
I think I'm like the third or fourth option, but I'm glad I could be here.
No, I don't. Definitely not. Well, I want to hit you with some of the breaking news that has just occurred.
Okay.
The Judicial Merit Selection Commission announced today that they received a withdrawal letter from Justice John Cannon Few, who was running to keep his seat on the state Supreme Court. Basically, because of that, because it happened a day before, that means the screening process will reopen, and we'll have to hold another. And y'all will have to hold another election. That means tomorrow's election for that seat will not be held. What's your immediate reaction? Are you surprised?
No, I think Justice Few has recognized that the votes just weren't there, and he was trying to do the honorable thing by withdrawing if he knew that the votes weren't there. I also think that he has saved the legislature from creating a really big problem, and that was going to be a stain on the legislature, but also a stain on the judiciary as well. If we had gone through with an election, and if the former speaker was elected to the Supreme Court with no judicial experience, that was going to be a problem. And I think to that extent, Justice Few has saved us from that really big mistake. So it will open up a new election. There'll be another screening next fall. So there'll be an election for the Supreme Court seat next year. So we'll see what happens there. But look, John Few has been a judge in South Carolina for over 2 decades, and he's done a good job. I think he's done a good job at the Supreme Court. So I appreciate his service, and to some extent, I appreciate him saving the legislature from making a really bad mistake.
You had been really critical. Of course, this was a 4-way contest with, as you mentioned, the former House Speaker Jay Lucas, also Administrative Law Court Judge Ralph King Anderson III, Appeals Court Judge Blake Hewitt. But you had been very, very critical, even on the floor, of Jay Lucas's candidacy for this race. What particular issue? Was it mainly the optics of him deciding to run for the seat without bench experience and everything else that came with?
Well, I think the optics looked really bad. And as I said on the floor, there are 4 candidates. There are 3 of them. Pick them, right? Because I think we would have been fine at the Supreme Court with any 3 of those judges, those people who've had judicial experience, who've made their way through the process. Speaker Lucas, who I like Jay. He's a smart guy. He did a fine job as Speaker. He's had 0 judicial experience. And I think putting someone like that on the Supreme Court it's a real departure from the norm. We've only done that maybe a couple times in the last 100 years, and I don't think we need to get back to that. But beyond that, with everything going on, the conversation about the judicial selection process, I think making that choice was going to send the wrong message to the public. So, look, I was prepared to go vote, and we could have dealt with it, but I am glad that we're not going to have that kind of a consequence.
And of course, this particular race put a lot of emphasis on, for folks who wanted more reforms for JMSC, put even more emphasis on that. Do you think that now kind of becomes less of an issue this session?
Well, I think people are still going to be talking about that. But I'll tell you, this issue was not a JMSC problem. This was more of the body at large. So I don't think that the proposal that's been out there is one to address this situation. I don't know that it addresses any of the real problems that we have out there. But in any event, we'll see where people are as far as trying to continue to push for that legislation. I would be surprised if it goes away.
Switching gears a little bit, obviously you've got some work to do today and through the rest of the week. What can South Carolinians perhaps expect out of the Senate this week?
Good stuff. Now, we spent a good bit of time the last couple of weeks about talking about tax policy, and we've reduced some taxes, whether that be property taxes and income taxes. I expect this week we're going to talk about taxes on boats and RVs and those types of pieces of personal property. And then I suspect that probably after that, we're going to have a conversation about these THC-infused drinks that are becoming prevalent and are really becoming a problem in certain areas, especially when you've got 12 or 13-year-olds that can go into a convenience store and buy a drink that's heavily laden with THC and not really understand what the consequences are of drinking that. That's a problem. And so I think we'll probably get to that hopefully next.
And just wanted to lastly ask you, because you mentioned tax policy, particularly about the issue of tax conformity, which a lot of South Carolinians, as they're filing their taxes, have been asking about. The House Ways and Means Committee, now despite saying that they weren't probably even going to address the issue or talk about it until after April 15th, has decided to look at legislation for the chamber to pass tax conformity. I know you were recently quoted in the Post and Courier as saying that that is not happening. this year. What is your take on that effort, and do you believe the legislature should even be going there?
I haven't heard about that until you just told me. That would surprise me, but I think it's contrary to what the House passed last year by moving from the base of South Carolina income tax, starting with the base of federal taxable income, which is where it's always been, moving to the adjusted gross income. The purpose there is to allow South Carolina to set its own policy and not be beholden to whatever Congress may decide, whether that's a tax increase or a tax decrease. Let us make our own policy. This House started that last year, and I think that was a good move by the House. The Senate just passed that last week. So if they're going to take a different stance now, that's interesting. But like, I think what it does is it potentially sets South Carolinians up for a significant income tax increase next year if we do that conformity. And I would prefer that we not increase people's taxes next year.
Let me actually just ask you this one last question, and that is about your bill that deals with gubernatorial appointments. I know that was going through, again, committee today. Can you talk a little bit about that bill, why you have decided to push that this legislative
session? Well, I think there are a number of things that the Senate has advice and consent on that we probably don't need to have advice and consent on. There things that we just need to allow the governor to find people to fill those positions. On the other hand, there are some very important areas where the Senate needs to have advice and consent. It's an important check and balance that was created even at the Constitutional Convention. It's part of the big compromise in 1787. And we adopted that here in South Carolina. So it's an important check, but there are some areas where I think the Senate needs to have more of a check, and that being especially with the Election Commission. We've given the State Election Commission significantly more duties over the years than what they had initially. It's important that the Senate have the advice and consent in that regard as well. And then dealing with interim appointments, I mean, we've had this issue that's come up sometimes that when the legislature is not in session, you need to have a process to allow for the continuation of government. But you also need to have some consultation with the Senate on those appointments. I think we've gotten away from that a little bit, so we want to try to tighten that up some. But I'm hopeful we can get that out of subcommittee tomorrow and then go forward with the full committee and then have that conversation. And hopefully we'll take up some confirmation votes today as well.
And that's Senate Majority Leader Shane Massey joining us here during week 8 at the South Carolina State House. It's Tuesday, so that means, of course, that there is more that is going to be happening, and we'll come back tomorrow. And you can, of course, find our coverage at southcarolinapublicradio.org or scetv.org/thegavel. Thanks so much, South Carolina.
Please join me for this special introduction.
Sergeant, if you need to escort Mr. Govan out again like you have so many times before, I certainly understand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I want us to recognize a very amazing group of hard-working persons. These are the county Veterans Affairs officers from every county in the state of South Carolina. All right. They do a wonderful job in providing services for our veterans, and they do it first class. I want to recognize the president is Kenesha Grimes from Orangeburg County. Will you stand up? All right. And our current County Veterans Affairs Officer of the Year, Carolyn Furman from Beaufort County. Let's give it up for her. And will all Veterans Affairs officers please stand and be recognized, because we do appreciate you. Let's give it up for them, y'all. Thank you for your service, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank you all for being here today, and it doesn't escape us. We talk so much about veterans down here, but I've seen firsthand the work that's done back home in York County to take care of our veterans when they think everyone's forgotten about them, and we certainly appreciate everything you do. Let's give them a hand again. Welcome to our Veterans Affairs Office. Mr. Gilliam. Can we get some order, please? Mr. Gilliam has a very important announcement. Mr. Gilliam's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And up on the hill of Mr. Weeks' announcement of our military caucus to come up, I want you to know that the House Military Caucus, we have a meeting tomorrow, 15 minutes after adjournment, after when you get out, we'll meet in room 108. It is some people want to talk to us and tell us about their veterans program that they do at the Big Red Barn. So I hope everyone will be there, because I see a lot of people come up here whenever they call a military caucus, but I never see anybody come at the meetings. So please come to the military caucus meeting tomorrow, 15 minutes after adjournment. Thank you.
Mr. Gilliam said he's tired of all you being AWOL and you need to be at his meeting tomorrow. Okay. Ms. Waters. While Ms. Waters coming up, Mr. Weeks is recognized. He got his people back in the balcony.
I didn't want to be derelict in my responsibility, but I do want to recognize a certain special Veterans Affairs officer who just happens to be my sister. She is from Sumter, South Carolina. She does an excellent job running the Veterans Affairs office. Stand up, baby. This is my baby sister. Hey, Valerie Brunson.
Mr. Weeks, I was about to chastise you for doing individuals. You know, the Speaker doesn't like to do that. But if anybody else has got a sister that's a Veterans Affairs officer, you can announce them right now, too. You know, so. Ms. Waters recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I believe in the gallery we have Dr. Tanya Matthews, the CEO of the International African American Museum. I wanted to read a few notes about the International African American Museum. Its acronym IAM. As you all are very familiar, and thank you to this body for helping us make sure that we have a world-class institution of cultural acknowledgement, respect, and reverence in Charleston. So the IAM has been recognized as Time Magazine's 100 greatest places in the world in less than 3 years of operation. IAM has welcomed more than 500,000 visitors and program participants in less than 3 years, growing to a statewide annual economic impact of $197 million. Those are dollars in this state generated by tourism to the International African American Museum. It is the second largest museum of its kind. It's only second to the Smithsonian, which I think is a great point of pride to have here in the Low Country, or there in the Low Country. The Museum Center for Family History is a world-class genealogy center and connects to the largest genealogy databases in the world, and has collected nearly 5,000 hours of oral histories. This year, IAM is launching a focus on tracing genealogy to the American Revolutionary era, especially for the South Carolina families, as this state hosted more Revolutionary War battles than any other state in the country. IAM has excelled in bringing recognition and prestige to South Carolina, from the New York Times to Garden and Gun magazine. IAM holds South Carolina history, stories, and the impact of South Carolina communities in the nation and on the global stage, and does so with excellence at the leadership of Dr. Tanya Matthews. Thank you so much for being here today.
Welcome to State House, ma'am. Thank you for the work you do down in Charleston. Mr. Bradley, Ms. Cobb-Hunter, and Mr. Hewitt have pulled rank on you, she claims. Ms. Cobb-Hunter, Mr. Hewitt, the Dream Team are recognized. Members, please take your conversations outside. While we're waiting on a little bit of order, it must be Clemson Day because Judge Clary is like a bad penny and has shown back up. Judge Clary, welcome back to State House, sir. Ms. Cobb Hunter, Mr. Hewitt recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, I hope you will take note of this bipartisan recognition up here. We are real thrilled. Mr. Speaker, could we get some order, please? Thank you so much over there in that corner. Proceed. Thank you.
Ms. Cobb Hunter, please proceed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker and members, Representative Hewitt and I are standing here because we are just thrilled to be able to introduce a group of people in the balcony. Some of us, some of you have had an opportunity to engage the services of this crowd. Some of you have not. We hope that those of you who have not had the opportunity to engage their services, quite frankly, don't have to. And who am I talking about? Care in Action, Mr. Speaker. Care in Action is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to fighting for dignity and fairness for domestic workers. Care in Action works to elevate the voices of care workers and all domestic workers. We provide the tools, they provide the tools, training, and community working families need to make their voices heard and organize and advocate for respect, recognition, and inclusion in labor protections. Care workers make all work possible by providing care and security for our most vulnerable populations. National Domestic Workers Alliance is the leading voice for dignity and fairness for millions of domestic workers in the United States. Founded in 2007, NDWA works for respect, recognition. Obviously, some of these people don't know anything about domestic workers, because if they did, Mr. Speaker, I think they'd have a bit more respect for these workers. NDWA is a membership-based organization of nannies, house cleaners, and care workers. NDWA has been moving to innovate the industry with the creation of ALEA, an online platform to help domestic workers access benefits not otherwise granted to them. In addition to introducing a National Domestic Workers Bill of Rights in 2019. And Mr. Speaker and members, Rep. Hewitt and I have been working with this organization, just trying to figure out if we can find a middle ground. I think there's progress that is being made, but we certainly wanted to acknowledge these workers for what they do, to show our appreciation, and to let you know that most of us know that we wouldn't be able to do the things that we do were it not for you. So y'all, welcome to your State House. Thank you for what you do. We ask for patience as we kind of try to work through some things. And hopefully, at the end of the day, we'll be able to figure something out. And so, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We're honored to have you here today. We appreciate what you do for our state and our community. Thank you for being here today. Mr. Robbins. Let me get some order, Mr. Robbins. Folks, Sergeant.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For those of you who are fans of or alumni of good basketball teams, you enjoy the month of March. For those of us who are Gamecock fans, we can't wait for the girls to start playing. But it seems like a long, long time ago when we had that 1 year of the Promised Land and went out to Arizona and played in the Final Four. But having said that, before you on your desk is the 5th annual Manufacturing Madness. And if those of you who are new to the chamber haven't seen this yet, these are the coolest things that are made in South Carolina. So for the last 5 years, the South Carolina Manufacturers and Commerce have been compiling a list of the coolest things made in South Carolina, and everybody has been voting on these businesses. So if you see your name, and I noticed that Representative Reese has multiple entries on here, but I am privileged to have one myself. The Volair boats are being made in the boat capital of the world, Dorchester County, and I am privileged to have one entry in this final 16. So please keep voting. They will continue to work all the way to the championship game, and may the best district win. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Robbins. Mr. Hickson, you got an announcement, sir? Mr. Bowers, if you'll let me know when.
Any of my ag team would like to stand up here, please?
Folks, please have some order. Miss Cobb Hunter, now you given what you wanted not to receive, so Mr. Hicks has got an announcement. He's bad influence. Mr. Hewitt doing the same. Now that you got your announcement. Mr. Hickson's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're very lucky here today. We have our conservation districts here from all around the state. And if the conservation districts are in the balcony, would you please stand? All of my conservation districts. Oh, they're back over here. I'm sorry. So we're very lucky today to have this special group of guests in our balcony today, in our lobby, because there's not enough room up there for everybody. Today is Conservation District Day at the State House, which is organized by the South Carolina Association of Conservation Districts. On your desk, you'll find a magazine that the South Carolina Conservation Districts, it's a 2025 annual report. This report highlights, my banner? Okay, thank you. Yeah, this report highlights the work done by each conservation district for the state of South Carolina and for the conservation districts in every one of our counties. And so we're glad also that the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources helped put this magazine together and our staff distribute it. So if you would, please help us recognize the conservation districts from all over the state in our balcony. Thank you all for being here today.
Welcome all our friends from the conservation districts. Thank you for being here today. Ms. McDaniel is recognized for a very important announcement. Mr. Kirby has an announcement.
Steve.
Mr. Kirby's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to make you aware you've got on your desk a couple of invitations from our South Carolina realtors who are here this afternoon. They're hosting our House and Senate at a legislative reception. That's going to be from 6 to 7:30 at the Columbia Museum of Art. South Carolina realtors tonight. In the morning, coffee, donuts, and dialogue at 9 a.m. on the south steps of the State House, coffee and donuts and dialogue. The South Carolina Realtors are here for their statewide convention, and we cordially invite you. I'm joined with fellow realtors here in the House, and we invite you to join us for the statewide convention of the South Carolina Realtors Association. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Welcome our South Carolina Realtors to Columbia this week. Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Mr. Bradley's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to take a minute to say welcome to the Hilton Head Bluffton Chamber of Commerce Leadership Group. Can you guys stand up and wave your hands? Welcome, guys, and we look forward to seeing you later.
Welcome to State House. We're glad to have you guys here today. Ms. Calhoun has a special announcement. May I get some order, Ms. Calhoun? Ms. Calhoun says she has an announcement more important than Clemson or the Gamecocks, so y'all need to pay attention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And members, please allow me to introduce you to Crew Jack Keel. He's already impacting the world as he is the 5th generation on my mother's side who is walking this earth. So he arrived this morning. He is 6 pounds and 3 ounces. Congratulations to Aubrey and Cody Keel.
Thank you, Ms. Calhoun. What's your grandmama name, Ms. Calhoun? Nan. Congratulations, Nan. Ms. Collins recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, especially if you're Pickens, Greenville, or Orangeburg counties, school districts, there is a virtual technology that is called Prisms Reality. You can wear VR headsets. They're teaching in some school districts. They are currently in the 3rd floor of Senate. If you want to try any of those on, I would encourage you to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Collins. All righty. Mr. Clyburn has informed me it is now time for me to call on Ms. McDaniels for Delta Day at the State House. Ms. McDaniel. Thank you for straightening me out, Mr. Clyburn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I start with the introduction, I want to acknowledge that Representative Tiffany Spann Wilder would love to have been here this morning, but we know that she's under some circumstances, and we ask that you continue to pray for her. She had surgery, and the surgery went well, so she wanted me to give her greetings to all of our sorors that are here today. So with that being said, Mr. Speaker and members of the House of Representatives,
I'm sure our school teachers appreciate this disorder we've had in our classroom today.
And Mr. Speaker, they all have deltas in their districts, so I know what they're talking about is important, but I know they want to hear about these deltas because they know we some fearless women. So today it gives me great pride, both personally and professionally, to rise and welcome to the South Carolina House of Representatives the dynamic, beautiful, and brilliant women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, who are here for the annual Delta Days in the state capitol. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was founded in 1913 by 22 collegiate women on the campus of Howard University, women who understood that sisterhood must be rooted in scholarship, service, and social action. Just 2 months after their founding, Those courageous women participated in the historic 1913 Women's Suffrage March in Washington, D.C., standing boldly for the rights of women to vote. From its very beginning, Deltas have never been silent in the face of injustice and are always committed to advancing the rights of women and the rights of all women. Delta's legacy of leadership includes trailblazers such as Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman elected to Congress and the first black woman to seek a major party's nomination for president. Barbara Jones, a powerful voice for the Constitution, and Coretta Scott King, who carried forward the dream of justice and equality. Today, Delta women come to lead in boardrooms, in courtrooms, in classrooms, and legislative chambers, and across the nation, including right here in the South Carolina House of Representatives, with yours truly, Representative Annie E. McDaniel and Representative Tiffany Spann Wilder. Senators standing beside me, Tamika Isaac Devine, who's also in my chapter, and Senator Margie Bright Matthews. Margie, yes. Whether fighting for voting rights, education equality, mental health, maternal health, economic empowerment, or social justice, the women of Delta Sigma Theta understood that democracy requires participation. Democracy requires participation. We show up, we speak up, we organize, we mobilize. We are honored to have over 200 Deltas representing all 46 counties across the state of South Carolina. And if you stand as I continue to read, in the gallery and throughout these halls today, among the ladies visiting with us include National Treasurer Sarah Rosalind Glenn, South Atlantic Regional Director who covers South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, Sarah Pamela Lewis, former South Carolina Regional Director who hails from South Carolina, Andrea Jeffries, the Social Action Coordinator, Tracy Richardson, South Carolina Social Action Chair, Audrey Lane, Moncks Corner Chairwoman, LaTory Lloyd, Clemson City Councilwoman, Alicia Smith, St. Matthews Councilwoman, Sharon Bennett, and you just heard from the International African American Museum, Dr. Tanya Matthews, also a Delta. The mother of my Sarah, Tamika Isaac Devine, Veronica Isaac. The wife of Senator Sapp, Jennifer Sapp. So to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, thank you for your leadership, your advocacy, and your continued commitment to service in communities across our great state, South Carolina. South Carolina is stronger because of you. Colleagues, please join us in giving a warm welcome to the ladies of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated.
Delta ladies, welcome to the house.
And y'all know I would be remiss if I didn't mention the wife of the man who told Speaker Pro Tem to make sure that I was next. Beverly Clyburn. In her memory, Aiken alumni, we salute you for all of the work that you did in taking care of Representative Clyburn during his times in his loss of his beautiful wife. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Welcome to State House. Mr. Bowers is recognized. It might be Clemson Day. I told Judge Clary showed up like a bad penny.
No adjourn, no adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Judge Clary, come on up
Mr.
here
Bowers,
with me.
let's get you some order, too.
Okay,
All the
let's get some
Clemson
order.
fans, I know you got former Speaker Wilkins in the corner. Welcome to State House, sir.
Representative Sanders, Ambassador
Bring up the
Wilkins,
Tigers.
Clemson fans, come on up. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, it's Clemson Day at the State House. I'm glad to introduce some of the Clemson folks we have in the balcony today. Interim
I'll put it
President
on the
Bob
bottom,
Jones.
too, to try to remember.
We don't. Chairman, Ambassador Wilkins, you have to come stand with us.
All right, let's get some order. Now, the Clemson men can't hear. Y'all don't allow women at y'all school, Judge?
All right, so in the gallery with us today, we have Interim President Bob Jones, members of the Board of Trustees, members of the Board of Visitors, students, faculty, staff, and Cooperative Extension. Thank you for being with us. Clemson campus is represented throughout the entire state of South Carolina, with the university having presence in every county, agricultural research centers located in the Piedmont and spread to the coast, youth programs that serve more than 100 young people every year, innovations campuses devoted to research, economic development in Anderson, Greenville, Greenwood, and North Charleston. They also support both existing and emerging industry clusters, including agribusiness, advanced manufacturing, aviation, automotive, energy, and advanced materials. Clemson's annual economic impact is $6.4 billion, resulting in 37,000 jobs statewide and generating $114 million in taxes annually. Clemson, listen to this, Clemson received 65,000 applications for school this year. That is phenomenal. Obviously, we're doing something right. Also, Clemson offers 21 varsity sports, including recent additions of women's lacrosse and women's gymnastics. And last but not least, Clemson University is home of the state's first ever veterinary school, set to enroll its first class in August, the Harvey Peeler Jr. College of Veterinary Medicine. Members and staff are invited tonight to celebrate with Clemson at 1208 Washington Place at 5:30. And Clemson University, welcome to State House.
Let's welcome to State House our friends from Clemson. Glad to have you here again. Ms. Davis, going to introduce our doctor of the day. Ms. Davis is recognized to introduce the doctor of the day. Let's have some order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. March, if anyone doesn't know it, is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month in South Carolina. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer deaths, yet it remains one of the most preventable forms of cancer through proper screening. The American Cancer Society estimates that nearly 2,600 South Carolinians will be diagnosed with colorectal cancer this year. And tragically, more than 900 of our friends, neighbors, and family members will lose their lives to it. What makes this issue even more urgent is the growing number of younger adults, and you may have seen this in the news recently, under the age of 50 being diagnosed. If the current trends continue, early onset colorectal cancer could become the leading cause of death. Are y'all listening to that? Colorectal cancer could be the leading cause of deaths among this age group. That means age 50 and under by 2030. So as we highlight this important public health effort, it's fitting that our doctor of the day is gastroenterologist Dr. March Seabrook, who has dedicated his career to improving the health of South Carolinians. You may recognize him, this is just an aside that Trey put in here for me. You may recognize him as the man who passes out toilet paper rolls to advocate for early cancer detection and preventive care. Join me in welcoming Dr. Seabrook to the House. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you, sir, as you always come. We appreciate you being here. Closing the roll call. Clerk, close polls, tabulate. But a 119 quorum is present. Clerk will read.
Senate amendments to House Bill 4343. Ms. Wetmore.
Senate amendments.
Introduction of a House Resolution, Bamberg, recognizing Bamberg-Earhart School District.
Mr. Bamberg requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
J.L. Johnson, honoring First Sergeant Fred J. Grooms, Sr.
Mr. Johnson requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Kirby, honoring Williamsburg Academy football team.
Mr. Kirby requests the roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Seth Rose, Heathwood Hall girls cross country.
Mr. Rose requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Rutherford, Thursday, March 5th, Etiquette Day.
Mr. Rutherford requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Merle Smith and Weeks, Sumter High School.
Ms. Smith, Ms. Weeks requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Representative Duncan and Whitmire, West Oak High School boys.
Ms. Duncan Whitmire requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Representative Weston Newton, honoring South Carolina's sacrifice made by K-9 Division.
Mr. Weston Newton requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Mr. Wooten, honoring Taylor Rivers of River Bluff High School.
Mr. Wooten requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Ms. Calhoun, celebrating the life of Dennis Carroll Valentine.
Ms. Calhoun requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
If you'd like.
Mr. Calhoun, for what purpose do you rise, ma'am?
Mr. Speaker, I respectfully request that when the House adjourns today, that does so in the memory of Representative Nathan Ballantyne's father, Dennis Carroll Ballantyne. Mr. Ballantyne of Taylor, South Carolina, was born in Columbia, South Carolina. He graduated with a bachelor's degree from the University of South Carolina. He served in Vietnam with the United States Navy in the Mekong Delta, where he received 2 Bronze Stars and the Navy Achievement Medal with Combat 5, later receiving a Quilt of Valor. He was a certified public accountant, retiring from a successful career in 2013 with Ballantyne and Hodge, LLC. He was an active member of Taylor's First Baptist Church, serving in various church ministries, as coach for a boys basketball team, a Royal Ambassador leader, a marriage small group facilitator, intercessory prayer member, and finance committee member. He served on the board for the Taylor's Free Medical Clinic, the board of the Paraclete Foundation, the Greenville Estate Planning Council, and the finance committee at the Poinsett Club. He served on the board of directors for the North Greenville University Christian Ministry Scholarship Fund. He is survived by his wife, Misty Winburn, and his son, Nathan Ballantyne, and he has 2 precious grandchildren, JC and Emma.
Ms. Calhoun moves that when we adjourn today, we adjourn in memory of Dennis Carroll Ballantyne, Representative Nathan Ballantyne's father, and it is so ordered. If we could, let's rise for a moment of silent prayer. Lift up Nathan and his family. Amen. Clerk will read.
Ms. Davis, March 2026 Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month.
Ms. Davis requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Mike Burns, recognizing Elijah Jennings.
Mr. Burns requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Yes, sir. Mr. Huff, recognizing Woodmont High School girls.
Mr. Huff requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Mark Smith, commending World Harvest Evangelist Jacob Eversole.
Ms. Mark Smith requests a roll to House. Do I hear any objection? Hear none, it's so ordered.
Ms. Senator Davis, Senate 996, congratulating South Carolina Institute of Medicine and Public Health.
Adopted.
This is the budget. Okay. Ways and Means, 5126, Ways and Means.
Committee bill.
As well as 5127.
Committee bill.
And a committee report from the Beaufort delegation, voting precincts in Beaufort County only.
Committee report.
That's it, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're on the bottom, page 2, second reading statewide uncontested bills. Clerk will read.
3530, Weston Newton, judiciary favorable. Amendment number 1.
Mr. Brandon Newton moves that we adjourn debate until March 24th. At bottom page 2, House Bill 3530, adjourn debate till March 24th. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Debate is adjourned. Clerk will read.
4163, Erickson, education favorable amendment. March 24th, Brandon Newton. Okay. Yes, ma'am. We have an amendment on the desk by the Education Committee, number 1.
Ms. Erickson's recognized to explain amendment number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I was working around the room to make sure that you had a copy of the talking points for this amendment, but I am happy to go over it here because I certainly didn't make it all the way around the room this morning. The first thing I need to tell you is this is a collaborative amendment. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that Coach Jackie Hayes has put in an inordinate amount of time and effort on this, and I want to thank him publicly for his work. The second thing I'll tell you is that all of the groups involved, from our coaches and our administrators to parents to members to our officiants, the referees, to our superintendents, everyone has contributed to this amendment, and I believe that it moves South Carolina forward with students at the forefront of what we do without growing government, but aligning us to better principles of a variety of members on our board and accountability and transparency in the work that our high school league will accomplish. The amendment allows the South Carolina High School League to remain in place. That is done so that we do not interrupt any student play or any eligibility or any records that are currently in place. The membership of the executive committee is to be comprised of no more than 13 members. Again, the representation meets the classifications of all of our sports, all 5, 2 House Education Committee appointments, 2 Senate Education Committee appointments, 1 appointment by the Athletic Coaches Association, referees and officials, governor appointees, and 1 superintendent of education appointee from the school administrators and 1 from the athletic commissioners. Thank you. The league is subject to audits by the Legislative Audit Council. It is required to submit its annual budget to the General Assembly and annually appear before House Ways and Means and Senate Finance. Is subject to legislative oversight in the same manner as state agencies. The commissioner must file a statement of economic interest, and any employment contract may not exceed 3 years or have an automatic rollover provision. Any provisos that are currently in the budget that we have had running for established play or penalties or involvement in school sports remain, and a high school athletics oversight and accountability committee is created to study operations and management. Mr. Speaker, that is the amendment, and again, I would tell you this is a collaborative effort, and I thank everyone involved.
Question is adoption Amendment 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
We have a second amendment on the desk by Ms. Erickson and Coach Hayes. Erickson and Hayes, number 2.
Number 2 is withdrawn. I'm sorry.
Number 2 is withdrawn, leaving no further. Wait. No, sorry, Juanita.
Mr. Clerk, if you would read amendment number 2
Yes, sir.
again.
Number 2, Erickson and Hayes. Number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Amendment number 1 was the committee amendment, which we should have withdrawn, and I apologize for that. This amendment, the second one, is actually the one that Coach Hayes and I put together, which is what I went over, and I apologize for having them misnumbered. So if we pass this next amendment, it is actually amending the entire bill, which would negate the bill and the First Amendment and will put us where we need to be.
Mr. Hyatt, what purpose? Ms. Erickson moves a simple adjourn debate on amendment number 2. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Simple adjourn debate on amendment number 2. Mr. Hyatt, what purpose do you rise? Mr. Hyatt, having voted on the prevailing side on amendment number 1, moves to reconsider the vote in which we accepted amendment number 1. All in favor of that motion say aye. Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. Mr. Hyatt now moves to Ms. Erickson moves to table amendment number 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. That now brings us back to amendment number 2. Ms. Erickson is recognized to get this train back on the track.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Hyatt, for the help on getting us back to the right amendment. So the whole thing that I just told you about was amendment number 2, and I would move for passage, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Magnuson is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Ms. Erickson. thank you for alleviating my concerns. As I was reading this amendment, it was concerning to me. I was like, what is going on? So it makes a little more sense, but I just want to clarify one more time. Are we replacing the high school league with something else? Or is it, or, because I'm still a little confused.
The actual high school league remains the name the high school league. Because of contracts and eligibilities for sports for all of our students, who actually come first, in my opinion, changing that entity would have created the opportunity for students to potentially lose some of those eligibilities and have play disrupted. I did not think that we should do that, and quite honestly, I didn't truly love the idea that we were going to grow an agency in government. So to have this piece worked out, to use the agency as it exists, that Coach Hayes has helped us with the reworking that should fit into the body that is already there, and I believe that we can move forward very positively.
Well, I agree with that about not adding more bureaucracy. So thank you. Did you know that I appreciate the efforts there, and thank you for the work. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Moss is recognized for a question.
Chairman Atkins, will we still have, are you familiar with the appeals committee or the appeals board? Will that still be in place?
Yes, sir, we did not remove that at all.
Was there consideration of giving the appeals board a broader spectrum of authority, or is this gonna, the county oversight would be something like the education oversight that we have with School Boards Association or whatever?
Mr. Moss, we don't have per se the education oversight, but they will have oversight within our body of the Legislative Oversight Committee, and they would fall under the LAC. But we also put in place a study committee because we think that the organization does need some help with some of the things moving forward. The study committee is included in our legislation, in our amendment, so that we can talk to all the members and have that feedback from them on what they feel like they do need. This is a new era for us in the high school league, and hopefully, my goal is Coach and I work together on this thing, and maybe the high school league and all of us can work together on moving it forward.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because I think the appeals board committee works.
It's very important,
Right.
and it was not touched by this amendment.
Okay,
No,
thank
sir.
you.
You're very welcome.
Mr. Williams has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Real briefly, and I know you guys been working on it, but to let you know, I did receive several calls on this particular legislation. Did you know that?
Yes, sir.
And certainly, you're willing to work with other parties to make sure we get it right. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. We spent a lot of time listening and hearing from folks and working with folks to see what the new era looks like. Okay. And I'm going to have to, you might get tired of it, but Coach Hayes has been integral to this work. Former members of other committees that have worked with them, all the input's been really appreciated, Mr.
Well, I really believe that Coach Hayes will lead us down the right path if he get his hand into it. So I'm glad to know that he's on target and he's on your team. Is that right?
I have enjoyed every year of my 18 years of service. I have enjoyed working with Coach Hayes. We work on a myriad of issues, and this one is, as always, very collaborative and respectful on all sides.
And my final question has to do with the charter schools inclusively to be a part of this growing effort. Help me to understand if would charter school be a part of this?
This takes all those provisos that we have all worked on that have been in our budget that lines out those areas of play and eligibility, and it leaves it all the way it is. Now, can their new executive board come back and put new policies in place? Sure, but they're going to have to follow some of these that we've asked them to do.
Well, I feel a little better knowing that Coach Hayes is involved, so we hopefully can get it right moving forward. Thank you.
Well, since I'm from Florence, Mr. Williams, maybe you'll feel good that I'm at it too.
Okay, well, certainly you involved. Certainly I feel good about you.
I'm just picking on you. Thank you.
Just to add Coach Hayes on the sideline, I believe we can make this team work.
Hey, he's on the sideline or in the dugout or wherever it is. I need to have him for me.
Well, thank you so very much.
Good friend and colleague. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you so.
Move for passage, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Rutherford has a question for you, Ms. Erickson.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Erickson, I, like many others, are concerned, and I've talked to Coach about this as well, and I apologize for being late. I was in the back working on another bill. How can we assure that the high school league, and especially at the appellate level, treats schools the same? And I've talked to staff. That language is not in there. And again, I'm not going to stop the bill at this point or try and slow it down. And maybe if it goes to the Senate and they disagree, we can change it later. But right now, the high school league is not bound by their own precedent. And they can treat one school this way and treat another school who has the same set of facts a totally different way. How do we make them?
Mr. Rutherford, I knew there was a section in here that got to what you were speaking to. Line 10, a provision that creates a uniform system applicable to all member schools at a varsity, sub-varsity, junior varsity, and middle school levels that establishes fines for cancellation and scheduled contests regardless of whether the contest is region or out of region, including refusal numbers and all the other play pieces. That was the essence of most of the controversy that we have seen. There are, as I mentioned, and you've been involved in this on Ways and Means, so you know all of those provisos that we have put in to create those level playing fields. I can't control what the actual people are doing, but I believe that this is a good faith effort to let them start making better decisions with students at the forefront of what they're doing.
And I don't disagree. I think this is a good effort, but I don't know that I trust people who have already shown you who they are to not continue to be who they are, and that if they treat Keenan High School one way, that when Ridgeview comes up and Ridgeview says, hey, you just did that for Keenan, they ought to be bound by the fact that they've done it for one and not be able to say, well, we don't have to do that for you.
Well, I believe we've got some tools on that. I mean, the legislative oversight is going to look at the rulings that they're making.
But the problem is by then, as you know, it's too late. You've ruined somebody's season. You've taken away their eligibility. And so, again, I don't want to stop it here, but I am going to talk to the Senate, and I do want some commitment from you all that that's where we're trying to go so that the Senate puts that in.
You're not going to get an argument from us on that. We feel more comfortable with the board makeup, the executive board in the beginning of having the appointees and the accountability. We also believe that by putting it all into one document, we cement that students need to come first. Those students cannot be penalized. That's part of the reason they are retaining their high school league moniker and the frame and structure, because I don't want to hurt students. I don't want any of us to make a decision that does that. I hope that with this new era, that the new board being put in place will send that message even to their appellate committee. If we need to come back, Mr. Rutherford, I don't know if you remember this, but my very first piece of legislation I ever passed was in '08, and it dealt with the high school league. So guess what? I'm happy to come right back here. If we need to do that, or if the Senate needs to do it. I agree there are a lot of places that we all have hurt feelings. I'd like for us to give them the opportunity to turn the page and show us that they can put students first.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rutherford.
Pending question is adoption of amendment number 2. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Amendment number 2 is adopted.
Nothing further.
And the amendment now becomes a bill. The pending question is second reading of House Bill 4163. Roll call is required in order. Voting on the board. Mr. Kirby, do you have an announcement you want to make? Ms. Bauer in the chamber. All right, Mr. Kirby is recognized for a special announcement. Mr. Kirby.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, just wanted to remind everybody that tomorrow is Suits and Sneakers Day. Everybody remember to wear your sneakers tomorrow in support of the American Cancer Society, Cancer Action Network. Suits and Sneakers tomorrow. They're hosting a breakfast in the morning in the Blott Building and invite members and staff to attend. We know that prevention and early detection saves lives. Tomorrow, cancer survivors and advocates will be joining us to share their story of hope and survivorship. Let's join together tomorrow and show our support to those fighting this disease that will impact over 36,000 South Carolinians this year, and for their friends and family who will be fighting cancer with them. Suits and Sneakers Day tomorrow. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Ms. Bauer is recognized for a special announcement. Ms. Bauer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just a quick reminder that this evening at the Alumni Center between 6 and 8, we are going to be hosting our first Ireland SC Trade Commission event. There will be some live dancing and Irish music and Guinness and maybe some Baileys, so please stop by. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bauer. All right. Time's expired. Time's expired. Polls closed. Clerk will tabulate by a vote of 112 to 0. House Bill 4163 receives second reading. Ms. Dillard is recognized for a special announcement. Ms. Dillard.
Mr. Hosey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to ask the Greenville delegation to join me, please, for this particular announcement. Greenville delegation on the left and right side of the aisle. Members, in 2024, the South Carolina General Assembly established the first Monday in March as Water Professionals Day as an opportunity to highlight the essential but often unseen water services that support our communities: safe drinking water, wastewater, collection and treatment, and stormwater management. Mr. Speaker, could I get some order, please?
All right, members. You got conversations, please take them outside. All right, Ms. Dillard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today, in recognition of Water Professionals Day, we have visiting with us members of Metro Connect's Greenville County's wastewater collection provider. Metro's mission is to protect public health and the environment by providing sustainable wastewater collection services, and we're glad to have them with us today, and they do a wonderful job for Greenville County. Please join us, in welcoming Metro Connects to the State House today, if they're still with us.
Welcome to the State House. Hope you enjoy your visit today. Appreciate what you do for us. That brings us to page 4, House Bill 3227. Clerk will read.
3227 is a bill by Representative Gatch that passed LCI favorably with amendment number 1, which they have. LCI number 1.
Mr. Gagnon is recognized to explain the amendment. Mr. Gagnon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard that a big issue with homeowners insurance is that policyholders don't always know what coverage they have until it's too late. So this amendment will require any South Carolina homeowners insurance policy that doesn't provide earthquake coverage, the insurer must communicate to the policyholder, and you can see it, maybe not. This all it says on their renewal when they get their insurance notice, this residential property insurance policy does not provide coverage for losses as a result of an earthquake. Please contact your insurance agent or insurance carrier to inquire about options to cover a loss resulting from an earthquake. And it has a effective date of January 1, 2027, giving the insurance companies enough time to send out notices, and if they don't have coverage for earthquake, it'll put it on there and have them, if they don't have it, they need to contact the insurance company if they do want it. So that's simply the bill. The amendment is a strike and insert, and we haven't had any pushback from the insurance companies or anyone else. We kind of talked to them and got their collaboration on this effort. So.
Mr. Caskey, what purpose you rise?
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to request debate.
All right, Mr. Caskey requests debate. Mr. Newton. Mr. Hewitt. Mr. Brandon Cox. Mr. Ford. Mr. Travis Moore. Mr. David Vaughn. All right, I think that holds it. So that puts it over on the contested calendar. So next is House Bill 5179. Clerk will read.
Ms. Erickson, Amendment number 1, Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Ms. Erickson is recognized for Amendment number 1. Explain Amendment number 1. Ms. Erickson.
Thank you, sir. 5179 is very similar, ladies and gentlemen, to the bill we passed earlier for last year with the mapping of our K through 12 schools. This actually is mapping of our public universities. The amendment is a committee amendment. The second portion of it addresses the campus safety as legislative body. The first thing we did was pass the 5205, which was our campus safety bill that was here last week. The second part is now the mapping component. The amendment requires institutions of higher learning to review at least once every 2 years their campus facilities and infrastructure to identify material changes and then report those to SLED so that the mapping vendor under contract can make those changes. That's the very easy part of an amendment, is the 2-year at least every 2 years.
All right, seeing no questions, pending question is adoption of Amendment number 1. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Amendment number 1 is adopted.
Nothing further.
So your amendment becomes a bill, Ms. Erickson? Or you need to explain the bill? All right, Ms. Erickson is recognized to explain the bill. Ms. Erickson.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned that we had a successful K-12 critical incident mapping proviso. All but 4 of our public districts have done that mapping. If you think yours hasn't, you can see me. I know who they are. And I believe they're in process but not finished. This bill would allow greater safety at our public institutions of higher learning with the mapping. It tasks SLED with administering it just as we did with our K-12 schools. That is the bill, Mr. Speaker.
All right, seeing no question. Someone ask a question? Ms. Gatch, for what purpose you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to request debate on this.
All right, Mr. Gatch requests debate. Mr. Long requests debate. Mr. Bamberg requests debate. All right, pending question is second reading of House Bill 5179 as amended. Roll call is required in order. Voting on the board. Have all members voted? Any objection, cutting roll call short? You object? You're, all right. Any objection now? Everybody made up their mind? All right. Nope, Mr. Taylor has not made up his mind. There you go. All right, well, time's expired anyway, so time's expired. Polls closed. Clerk tabulate by a vote of 108 to 0. House Bill 5179 received second reading. That brings us to House Bill 4151. Mr.
4151.
Mr. Brandon Newton requests debate. Mr. Val Guest, Mr. Caskey, Mr. Hewitt, Mr. Martin, Mr. Hyatt, Mr. Magnuson, Mr. Pope, Mr. Duncan, Mr. Long, Mr. Kirby, and Mr. Breton. All right, that moves it over to the contested calendar. So next bill on page 5, House Bill 4763. Clerk will read.
4763. Oremus, judiciary favorable.
Mr. Brandon Newton requests debate.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Hewitt, Mr. Harris, Mr. Martin, Mr. Moore, Mr. Travis Moore, Mr. Lawson, Mr. Duncan, Mr. King, Mr. Luck, Mr. Hosey, Mr. Caskey, and Mr. Guest. All right, now move that to the contested calendar. Next on the calendar is on page 5, House Bill 5120. Clerk will read.
5120, Cox, others, judiciary.
Mr. Brandon Newton requests debate. Mr. King requests debate. Mr. Weeks requests debate. Mr. Caskey. Mr. Britton. Mr. Mitchell. Cody Mitchell. Ms. McDaniel. Mr. Hosey. Mr. Hewitt. Mr. Rivers. Mr. Anderson. Ms. Waters. All right, I'll move that bill over. All right, next on the calendar is page 6, House Bill 5121.
By Representative Cox.
Mr. Brandon Cox moves to recommit the bill. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. The bill is recommitted to the Judiciary Committee. That brings us to House Bill 5073 on page 6. Clerk will read.
5073, Petalino, many others, education. Favorable. Amendment number 1. Amendment number 1 is education.
All right, time's expired in the uncontested period. Mr. Forrest moves to recur in the morning hour. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. The morning hour is recurred. The clerk will read.
Charleston Delegation Committee reports favorable. 5060, Leonidas Stephanakis.
Committee report.
And Mr. Grant honoring 4-H Pinckney Leadership Program.
Mr. Grant requests unanimous consent to add the roll of the House as an objection. Here none adopted. All right, that brings us back to the calendar on page 6. House Bill 5073, clerk will read.
Petalino, Erickson, many others, education. Favorable. Amendment number 1.
Ms. Erickson is recognized to explain the amendment.
I'll explain. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this committee amendment added the following item to be to item B at the request of the State Department. It reads, grades that reflect actual student achievement are essential for maintaining academic standards and accountability. And the UGP task force findings are due June 1 instead of February 1, 2027. That is all the amendment does.
Hearing no questions, pending questions, adoption of amendment number 1. All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed, ayes have it. Amendment number 1 is adopted. Ms. Erickson is recognized to explain the bill now. Ms. Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, 5073 addresses grading practices in public schools. Grading must promote college and career readiness by measuring student mastery of rigorous material as demonstrated through completed assignments and assessments. In other words, schools may no longer use grading floors. If a child gets a 30, they get a 30, but there's no 50 in the mix, just as a grading floor of not going below. This gives the parents and the student the ability to know their actual grades. The bill also addresses credit and content recovery courses, requiring that they must submit all required assignments pursuant to the district policies. Districts may not use a student's score on formative tests. That'd be the MAP testing that we do for teachers to plan the content that they teach. Unfortunately, some schools are using those where the child has not been taught the content, yet they're being graded on those MAP tests, and that is then used in their grade, which hurts their grades tremendously. Prior to the school year, the State Board of Education must establish a task force also to evaluate the revisions to the uniform grading policy. Recommendations must include the use of term weighting in calculating final grades, the method of awarding quality points on the basis of unique numeric final course averages when calculating, grade point averages, and the use of a 100-point grading scale. The task force must report its findings to the State Board of Education before the deadline, which is June 1 instead of June 1, 2027.
All right, Coach Hayes has a question. Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman Erickson. So I know a lot of districts have a floor grade of 50.
Yes.
Was there any thought or consideration about, let's just say, I'm going to go back to my old days when I was teaching U.S. history, first quarter. And I got a young, let's just say I got a freshman in my class. And they're having some trouble adjusting. And let's say they get a 20 first quarter. And there's no way out. And so they're going to set my classroom for the rest of that semester or that teacher's classroom, and they're probably going to be a problem, or they're not going to be intact. I mean, are we just going to keep them down right from the get? Because I don't know how you can recover from it.
Coach Hayes, you and I both been in the classroom, and the teachers have asked us so many times I can't count for us to allow them to teach. And this actually gives all of those choices back to the teachers. They can do extra credit. They can reteach and then retest. The teacher has the power in the classroom, and that's what's been missing. And quite often, sadly, Coach, I'm going to tell you this, and I bet you're not surprised, but sadly, we've heard from teachers across the state that they have students figuring out exactly how low they can make their grade and not have to study a thing.
No.
That's the opposite of what we should be wanting children to do and aspire to do in their classrooms. This is a teacher-friendly bill that teachers have asked us for so that they can decide what the plan is in their classroom, and the students actually get the gravity of that grade. And parents deserve to know too, because parents are out there doing the best they can. If they see a 50, they might not even realize that their child didn't really earn the 50, but that was given to them, and their child is actually not getting knowledge at all. So this is integrity of the grading system brought to us by teachers and parents, mostly teachers, who've asked to be able to run their classroom.
Okay. Does part of the bill say they'll have an opportunity to make up that work or seat, or some kind of seat time or anything involved in this?
Is there a section in the bill that requires extra seat time or makeup times? I don't think so. This is a grading floor policy, Coach, and we didn't get in the weeds. I think the idea behind it was, again, and look, I'm just going to say it like it is. This was a teacher requested piece of legislation. They don't want us to tell them what they have to do. They want all the options. If a district wants to choose to make reteaching, retesting, use their MAP scores in a way,
that'll still be available.
all of it's available.
Oh,
they just can't go and misrepresent a grade that a student hasn't earned.
Well, I agree with you 100%. You know, you got to earn your grade. I had a teacher one time said, all I do is record grades. I teach and I record grades. So
Yeah.
I understand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Govan has a question. Mr. Govan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and Ms. Erickson, Madam Chairman. Let me ask you this question. Is there a physical impact to this bill?
No.
Okay, then. So are there any penalties in place for, is this district voluntary, or this will make it totally compliant?
This would make a mandatory policy of the grading. Remember, though, we added that study committee in here also. The only way there's any kind of penalty or a problem is if a district passes through their board, passes a policy that is different than the state's policy. And quite honestly, I mean, if you change any of your policies to not go along with state policy, you're inviting problems.
Okay, then, so basically the LEAs or the local education authorities, basically this would make them, their policies would have to conform to whatever the state says if this is passed into law.
This is a clarification on that uniform grading policy that you guys passed back when you were on the committee, Mr. Govan.
Okay,
Yeah.
then, so in essence, then, if a local education authority so chooses to continue to use a floor, if you would, in terms of their grading system, could you again tell me, because I'm no longer on education, what the consequences are?
They would have to pass a policy. I mean, if you've got, for example, a teacher who is ignoring the policy, and you've got one situation and you're trying to deal with it, that's not what triggers a penalty. The only trigger on the penalty is if that district passes a policy that says we're not going to follow state policy.
Okay, then.
If you run up against something that you're having to fix within your district, but you're trying to follow the policy, that doesn't trigger it either. The only way you're triggered here is if you choose to make a new policy that separates you from the state uniform grading policy that's in place.
So there is a penalty for a district not adhering to the
Could be if they wanted to pass a policy that said we don't want to follow the state policy.
And can you share with us what that could be if a district decides
It's
to?
percentage, and I'm not sure what it is. It'd be different for each district, depending on their funding from the state.
Percentage. Okay, then. So we're talking about cutting local or local education authorities or local school districts money if they're not compliant with the new law that's being put out by the state.
On the uniform grading policy that everyone in the state has to follow, yes, sir.
So in essence, then, we basically are saying, do it the way we're telling you to do it or else.
Mr. Govan, the integrity of our grading system is something that is put up against every other state in the nation. If we don't have a state policy on our grading, then we're going to lose out on scholarships. We're going to lose out on our teachers want to report what it is they're doing with their MAP testing. It goes against everything that we want to report of the good stuff. So, yes, sir, if a district decides that they're going to circumvent the statewide policy, there is a circumstance where that could come into play. Now,
I'm
like I said,
I'm
it's a
not trying to
choice.
get into a debate in terms of the merits. I'm just trying to get some clarification in terms of how this is going to work out, because it does create winners and losers despite which side of the spectrum that you fall on. And I'm just trying to be clear of the part that, and bear with me, because as an educator myself, you know, I will tell you, if you start talking about cutting funding as a penalty for those who are not compliant, and I'm just trying to get some clarification here, I'm not trying to beat up on you or anything, then of course you're talking about, particularly if you're talking about poor and rural school districts, if they don't adhere to this, of course they get their funding cut, which they're already struggling for money. Because did you know that all school districts aren't equal, because we still don't have uniform funding across the state, that there are disparities in funding when it comes to poor and rural school districts. Certain school districts have more funds than others. Would you not agree with that?
I would tell you that we have a funding formula that uses weighted per pupil units, and it differs across the state of South Carolina. But I think the thing that I'm going to tell you I disagree with you on is there is no arbitrary cutting of funding that goes along with this bill at all. It is an actual voting choice of that school district to go against state policy. And if we want South Carolina's report cards to look better for our children, we want to have a uniform grading system that actually is real.
But I'm just talking about the individual child, so we cut funding. In other words, there are innocent children who really would not have anything to do, one with parents and their children, whose kids would be penalized for less, with the penalty put in place with less funding if the local school board didn't go along with the decision of the state.
I would say that if the school board is making decisions that puts children and families in harm's way, then people in that district should look at who's on their school board.
Okay, let me ask you one other quick question. I again, not trying to beat up on you, I'm just trying to get some clarity on this. Because quite frankly, I understand both sides of the argument. Not everyone out there has access to the information to understand that. But I think it's important because we still have a ways to go to have equalized funding for school districts across the state, even though we've made some progress in terms of with the school funding formula. It's gotten better, and but we still have a ways to go. Would you agree with that?
I would. I would like, though, if I could ask you to, this bill is about grading. The only funding affected is a choice of a school district, and we have rules for all kinds of things. I mean, I think as adults, we should set the example of following the rules, and we should do what's right for children and set those examples. And if a school district chooses to pass a policy that isn't good for children, that doesn't give us the best foot forward, then the school district needs to answer for that, not the State Department.
Okay, and the final thing, and I want to get back to a question that Coach Hayes asked. So I'm a student. I got things going on at home. My first test I take, I make a 20. My situation changes. Either I'm removed out of that situation, and as the semester progresses, then so in terms of my true ability and what I've been able to capture, and you know this as an educator, that all students don't necessarily start at the same point. So, you know, my grades improve, and all of a sudden I'm doing 70 and 80 work. But yet still, if you add my 70 and 80 to that 20, then it looks like I'm still a failing student.
When I answered Coach Hayes' question about that, I gave my honest and true answer. Teachers asked for students to have real grading. Parents have asked for students to have real grading because the severity of the grades, the reality of just getting a 50, is not sinking into students when they're not doing well. Is it going to be tough on some children and some teachers to find the way to do it? Yes, but teachers have asked for the ability to teach in their classrooms, and I believe it's our job to give them all of those opportunities. This gives them retesting, extra credit, anything they want to come up with. All this says is that you do have to report the real grade.
Well, my final question is this. If we've heard time and time again that education should be the purview of parents at the local level, at the closest level to the parents. If that is the local school district, which is duly elected like us, should not this decision be made at that level, and this issue, if this is a major concern, should be addressed at that level as opposed to us superseding our influence or ability to override that at this level?
When the state has to be accountable as a state for what we're doing with our funding and every student is counted, they all need to be counted in a uniform way. Local policies about what particular math series they want to use or what their calendar is for getting those things done, those are absolutely appropriate, and I appreciate our school boards. But given that we are graded as a state on what we do and how we progress our children, whether they're passing or failing, I would say that that needs to be a state decision.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Govan.
Ms. Kirby's recognized for a question. I got you next, Ms. Landy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
This legislation, and I'm sorry if I didn't hear what you said earlier, has been approved by the teachers union.
Well, we don't have a teachers union.
Well, I'm sorry, SCA, the Teachers Association.
I did not hear from SCEA. I heard from the Palmetto State teachers. The SCA has not brought any problems to me, which they do. If they usually have a problem, they're usually very good about that. So Palmetto State teachers actually shared with us that it was one of the things that their teachers were very interested in seeing happen. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, if you don't mind, Palmetto teachers,
Palmetto State teachers have agreed with this policy, yes.
And they are,
they're the largest.
They represent a lot of our public school teachers?
Yes, sir. They're the largest organization for our public school teachers in South Carolina.
Okay. And so then this new grading scale would then...
The SCAEA did write us a letter of support. I apologize.
Good.
Yes, there you go. Both teacher organizations.
Okay, good. And this will apply, of course, to all public schools?
Yes, sir.
All charter schools?
Yes, sir.
All of our voucher-driven schools that are receiving vouchers?
I don't believe it is in the ESTF, but it is in all of our traditionally funded public schools, which encompass our charter, magnet, traditional public, that realm, yes.
But not our...
No, sir, the charters actually, I mean, the independent schools actually can have different gradings and different calendars on even the things that they teach. Most of them, though, we heard from, I believe, and don't hold me on this, I believe it was the Catholic schools diocese that said they followed the state policy. So they would be then following the state policy.
The reason for the question is simply this. If you've got a grading scale that all of our South Carolina students are under, relative when it comes time for them to be applying for scholarships or
yes.
post-educational grants or whatever, a level playing field is important. I get that.
It
and
is,
I think
and
that's
you're
probably
right.
the impetus of what y'all are trying to do here is create a level playing field. I guess my question is, how can the playing field be leveled if all of our students in the state that are receiving public funds not be all playing on the same level?
A lot of those are choices, Mr. Kirby, and the choices come from their ability to want to be ranked. So we might not dictate it, but if they are going to enter in the arena of wanting those dollars, then they have to meet those criteria. So the schools that they are attending, if they want their students to be in the running for those dollars, then they will choose to do that, and we don't even have to make them because they want their children to be able, their students to be able to be eligible. That's why the Catholic Diocese, I believe, follows that policy. And I think it's more prevalent, but we didn't hear from any of them. I think they mostly follow that because they want their students to be eligible for all the things.
Was there a reason that they were excluded from this legislation?
Just the choice aspect of the curriculum and things, that it is a choice, and if, quite frankly, if their students do not meet those criteria, then they're not using those dollars on those scholarships.
So that also applies for homeschoolers, I would assume.
Yes, sir. If they want to have the grading that meets the criteria for certain scholarships, the folks that set those scholarships set those standards. The largest amount of money that we give have those standards attached to them.
Thank you so
You're
much
welcome.
for taking my questions.
Certainly.
Ms. Landing has a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chairman Erickson, it's already now been said, but I was going to make a question, and now it's stated that Palmetto State Teachers Association is definitely in favor of this bill, correct?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So getting back out of the weeds and back to the bigger picture, did you know, I don't mean, oh, did I say something? Maybe that wasn't for me. Did you know that actually the Palmetto State Teachers Association believes this is one of the best K through 12 bills moving in either chamber this year, and they would really love to see us pass it in time to get it to the Senate, in time to get it into law, so that this can help our students going forward into the new year and our teachers. Did you know that?
Ms. Landing, thank you. I did know that. As I said, I believe I opened with it, this is a teacher-requested bill. Teachers have wanted things in the classroom that allow them to teach, and this does that.
Ms. McDaniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Chair Lady Shannon. Let me make sure I understand what's going on here. Because I know when I served on the school board, we had a similar issue with the grading schedule. And did you know that at one point the grading scale was a child couldn't be graded any less than a certain amount? And did you know that the reason for that is a child can have a bad day and score a 20 or 30, and the time it takes for a child to get from a 20 or 30 to a D or C, particularly if it's a child who has the aptitude, but for some reason they had something extraordinary happen in their life to cause that grade, then that child can be shattered and give up, because when they do the math and realize what it takes for them to get from a 20 up to a 75 or 80 is impossible. So have that been taken into consideration? And I apologize that I have not done the work on this bill that I should have, but just listen to the conversation. I just want to make sure that we are not doing something unintended to hurt a child.
Let me tell you that the teacher is in charge of the classroom. And that teacher then gets to look at what is good for that student and how that classroom is run. There is absolutely no limit to how many grades that teacher can allow that student to have. They can reteach, they can retest, they can reteach and retest. They can give that child as many different grades as they need in that classroom to show that one day didn't matter. And that is the choice of the teacher, and that is what we're asking for.
You do know that all teachers are not fair, correct?
I will not disparage our teachers from this.
I'm not disparaging teachers, but I'm not going to say that every child who have a situation, do you know, is not necessarily that child's fault. And sometimes we have students to grow up and realize that I'm going to let go this anger for what happened to me during my school years. And I can tell you some situations that happened to me. But my question now is, who are the teachers that requested this?
The SCEA and the Palmetto State Teachers Association, and hundreds of emails that I have received.
Now, you do know I have
I'm sure, Representative Petalino is right here. She's the main sponsor on the bill. I'm the co-sponsor on the bill. I think she can tell you, and I can tell you, that we have had really, truly nothing but outpouring of support for this piece of legislation. Representative Landing just read you a section from the Palmetto State Teachers. They would like this bill passed so that it can get through with the Senate and can be in place as quickly as possible.
Do you know, I never see Palmetto State Teachers Association in my district. And they never come to me and talk to me knowing that I've served on the school board for 18 years. So my question was, who are the teachers again that wants this bill?
Well, the South Carolina Education Association, I know you know those ladies.
I know them well.
They actually, Pierce, would you hand me that letter again, please? I'm sorry. They wrote a letter
Mr.
and
Speaker, I
fully
would like
support.
to request debate on this bill.
Ms. McDaniel requests debate on 5073. Mr. King requests debate. Governor Johnson requests debate. Mr. Reese requests debate. Mr. Gilliard requests debate. Ms. Waters requests debate. Mr. Rivers requests debate. Mr. Anderson requests debate. Ms. Dillard requests debate. Mr. Jones requests debate. And that will put that on the contested calendar. Clerk will read.
4468. Erickson, Education. Favorable amendment number 1.
Ms. Erickson recognized to explain amendment number 1 on 4468. We're on page 7.
All right, y'all. The longer you ask questions, the longer I'm going to be at the well. This one should be easy, but I don't ever like to say that to you guys because then it turns out it's not. So the committee amendment is, instead of only one special education teacher serving on this council, we added a second.
Question is adoption amendment 1. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Amendment 1 is adopted. Clerk will read.
No further amendments to 4468.
Question is adoption 4468 as amended. Roll call is required. Voting on the board's order. I want to welcome Representative Phil Owens to the floor, the mentor of the upstate. Glad to have you here today, sir. Mr. Hewitt's recognized for an introduction. Mr. Anderson. Mr. Hewitt, Mr. Anderson recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we just want to welcome with us our leadership Georgetown and the Georgetown Chamber, and look forward to, thank y'all for coming in today. Look forward to meeting with y'all tomorrow morning. Thank y'all.
Welcome to State House. Glad to have you guys here today. Time has expired. Clerk, close polls, tabulate. Vote 111, 4468 as amended, receive second reading. We'll now withdraw objections, requests for debate. Mr. Ford, for what purpose do you rise, sir? Speak.
Nothing. Sir, after further review on H 3227, I'd like to remove my request for debate, please.
Mr. Ford removes his request for debate on 3227. That's on page 4. That's the insurers to offer insurance coverage for loss or damage resulting from earthquake. Are there any further requests in removal? Hearing none. Is any other withdrawal of objection request for debate? Ms. Stavronakis?
Consent. Yeah, right.
You're just getting warmed up, Mr. Stavronakis. I got you. Any further withdrawal objection requests for debate? Hearing none, we're in unanimous consent request. Mr. Stavronakis, what purpose do you rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I request unanimous consent to withdraw H3474 from LCI and have it placed on the calendar. I've talked to Chairman Herb Kurzman, and he has no objection. This bill previously passed the House unanimously during the last session, and it eliminates some excessive regulation in the transportation networking area.
Mr. Stavronakis requests that House 3474 be withdrawn from LCI and placed on the calendar. Do I hear an objection? Hearing none, it is so ordered. Ms. Cromer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request that Bill number 5167, conformity, be brought to the floor from Ways and Means Committee. I have spoken to and heard from the taxpayers of South Carolina, and they wish this bill to be heard.
Mr. King objects to conforming. That's 5167. Governor, what purpose do you rise?
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to recall the budget from Ways and Means to LCI. I know both chairs, and I believe this would be the best way to get things done. Thank you.
I'm sorry, sir. It is no longer in Ways and Means. I'm sure running for governor, you understand the way the process works. It is actually on the desk, sir. So, yes, sir. Mr. Williams, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Senate Bill 583, I request to remove my name from request for the debate.
I'm sorry, sir, if we come back to that, but we're now on unanimous consent request. But yes, sir. Anything further? Unanimous consent. Hearing none, we're now on Senate amendments. Middle of page 8, House read. Clerk will read.
Senate amendments, first one is 3798, Judiciary.
Mr. Moore is recognized to explain Senate amendments on 3798.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. H 3798 unanimously passed the House in February last year. You may recall this bill set specific qualifications for military chaplains serving South Carolina's militia system and granted qualified chaplains the right to refuse to disclose and prevent others from disclosing certain confidential communications made between chaplains and members of the organized and unorganized militias of the state. At a minimum, military chaplains must be properly ordained and endorsed by a recognized military endorsing agency. While South Carolina law provides a general priest-penitent privilege to protect clergy confidentiality in legal proceedings, no specific statute currently grants military chaplains the right to refuse to disclose confidential communications within our state military system. So what the Senate did is they amended it to now specifically apply to the State Guard. It also specifically specifies to be properly ordained and endorsed, one must obtain recognition through the Department of Defense or approved affiliate, the Adjutant General or his designee, or the Commander of the South Carolina State Guard or his designee. It requires chaplains to properly identify their status as such in uniform. It clarifies that privilege applies both on active duty and in a reserve context. And I'll just tell you, I think from a practical standpoint, many of you are probably aware of the mental health issues that some of our veterans deal with. So if you think of a circumstance, which this is not hypothetical, this is a real, I know I can't hear either. So anyway, a practical example would be if somebody's dealing with a...
Members, we could have some order, please. Members up front say they can't hear.
Right here. So a practical application of what this would protect is if you can imagine a service member, particularly a National Guardsman, a traditional National Guardsman or State Guardsman who may be dealing with a mental health issue, they're going to feel like they can reach out to our amazing chaplains within our National Guard and State Guard. If that chaplain is not necessarily on active duty, federally recognized orders, there's a question as to whether or not the communications between that service member and that chaplain are confidential or not. What this does, and what the Senate has improved upon to clarify, is ensure that our chaplains, both within the State Guard and the National Guard, will be extended the same confidentiality, whether they're in an active duty status or not. And I would urge you all to please accept and adopt the Senate amendments.
Ms. Davis has a question. Mr. Grant has one too.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Moore. Help me understand, so the qualifications of the chaplains that you just went through, is that set by the military, or was this something that the committee had come on with chaplain qualifications?
You know, so my understanding is that these chaplain qualifications are those who are recognized by the Department of Defense / Department of War, whichever you prefer to call it. Sure. They would have had to go through the recognized programs that are recognized by the chaplain school to be recognized as an official chaplain within the military system. So those are different faith backgrounds, obviously different types of seminary and education requirements, but this bill does not address the qualification. It just references the qualifications already acknowledged and accepted by the Department of Defense.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant. Question is, shall the House concur in the Senate amendments on House Bill 3798? Mr. Moore suggests that you concur with those amendments. To concur, vote green. To non-concur, vote red. Roll call is required. Voting on the board's ordered. All members wishing to vote, voted. All members wishing to vote, voted. Any objection? I'll close the roll call. Hearing none, clerk close polls, tabulate. Vote of 113-0. House concurs with the Senate amendments on 3798. Brings us to middle of page 8. Clerk will read.
4762, Long. Judiciary. Yes, sir.
Question is adoption on third reading, 4762. All in favor say aye. All opposed, the ayes have it. 4762 is adopted. Clerk will read, middle of page 9.
583 Senate, 583 LCI. All right.
Question is adoption on third reading, Senate Bill 583. All in favor say aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. 583 is adopted on third reading. Brings us second reading statewide contested bills. Clerk will read.
4758 Weston Newton Judiciary Favorable Amendment number 1.
Mr. McCraven, Mr. Hyatt says he's in charge here. Mr. Hyatt, what purpose you rise? Mr. Hyatt moves the House do now adjourn. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Before you leave, I've got a number of announcements for you. Want to let you know. Subcommittee meetings, 1 hour upon adjournment of the House, Education Public Works, K through 12, Subcommittee, Block Room 433. 1.5 hours after adjournment, LCI Banking Insurance Subcommittee, Block 403. 1.5 hours upon adjournment, Wildlife Subcommittee, Agricultural, Natural Resource, Environmental Affairs Committee, Block 409. Upon adjournment of the LCI Banking Insurance Subcommittee meeting, LCI Real Estate Subcommittee, Block 403. At 3:30, Regulations, Administrative Procedures, Artificial Intelligence, and Cybersecurity, Block Room 110. 4 p.m., there's a full Ways and Means Committee meeting in Block Room 521. At 1:30 p.m., kind of missed that one, Tort Reform Ad Hoc Committee, Block Room 516. Ms. Gilman, you have something also? Better hit it quick, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I ask the military caucus that is left to come up here with me just for a moment for a quick moment of silence and request? Military caucus, if you'll come up. Well, I'm going to tell them first. Okay, just want to recognize everybody that's on the floor to be remembrance of our soldiers that are fighting in our war right now, and the ones we have lost. I'm going to ask that we give a moment of silence for the ones that we have lost and pray that God's grace will be to keep everyone safe as we're in combat right now.
Folks, we got people in combat. We'd like a moment of silence. I apologize for letting you read, Mr. Gilman. I apologize. I did not see it marked up here. A moment of silence for our troops. We take so much for granted. They're in danger. We need to have a moment of silence for our troops and all those that are affected by what's going on in the Middle East. Amen. The House is now adjourned till 10 a.m. tomorrow.
We have the Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Martin. What purpose do you ask, sir?
To raise a point of order.
State your point, sir.
Under Rule 39, this bill has not been on the calendar the required amount of time to receive a second reading on today's date.
That point of order is sustained, sir. That completes the call of the uncontested calendar. We're now in the motion period. Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, H 3858 on page 21 is a bill that relates to watercraft, the taxation of watercraft and outboard motors. I move to set that bill for special order.
Motion is to set H 3858 on page 21 for special order. All those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The bill is set for special order.
Mr. President.
Senator from Edgefield.
Move to dispense with the balance of the motion period.
Motion is to dispense with the balance of the motion period. All those in favor would please say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The motion period is dispensed with. Senator from Orangeburg, what purpose do you rise, sir?
To make an announcement.
You're recognized for an announcement.
The announcement is sort of in the way of a reminder. Tomorrow we have photos here in the Senate in the morning, so the reminder is to wear a dark suit and be here if you want to be in the picture. Number two is Suit and Sneakers Day, and so don't wear your sneakers to the picture, but bring your sneakers with you so that we can celebrate all the progress that we're making in the arena of cancer awareness.
Senator is so informed.
Mr. President.
Senator from Orangeburg.
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
What time do we need to be here for the pictures?
11:25, I'm told, for the pictures. I would ask 11:25 sharp, not Senate time.
And then photograph, and then we'll gavel in, and then we'll go vote?
We'll go to the joint assemblies.
And is there a plan then to take a lunch break after the vote?
Senator from...
Okay.
Yep. Senator from Edgefield.
Mr. President, I move that if and when the Senate adjourned today, that it adjourn to meet at 11:45 a.m. tomorrow for purposes of the joint assembly.
All those in favor of the motion that the Senate, if and when it adjourns today to meet at 11:45 tomorrow a.m., all those would say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. So ordered. Senator from Edgefield.
Mr. President, I move that upon completion of the joint assembly tomorrow, the Senate would stand in recess for 1 hour to allow senators to get lunch.
I believe it's Firefighters Day on the grounds. So all those in favor that we would stand in recess for 1 hour would say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Once we completion of the joint assembly, we will be in recess for 1 hour. Senator from Edgefield.
Mr. President, we have several subcommittees that are scheduled to meet this afternoon. We need to let them do their work. So I want to see if there are any other announcements or any unanimous consent requests before we adjourn.
Members of the body, I would like to make an announcement that we have a 4 o'clock event today, second floor of the State House, with the governor, with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and also the Speaker and myself. All are invited to begin the celebration and recognition of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. It would love to have any and all that can attend that event. It's kind of beginning of a historic time for us. And so I would encourage any of you that your schedules allow to please join us for that here on the second floor. Senator from Charleston, Senator Tedder, what purpose do you rise?
Senator from Edgefield, will yield for a question?
Of course. Senator yields.
For purposes of tomorrow, just wanted to know if lunch is on our own, or will the majority leader be sponsoring that lunch?
I'm sponsoring it through the Firefighters Association, who I believe have picked a great day to be here because who knows what kind of fires may be created tomorrow.
Any further announcements or unanimous consent request? Senator from Edgefield.
I move the Senate do now adjourn.
The motion is that the Senate do now adjourn. All those in favor would say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. We stand adjourned to meet at 11:45, but for purposes of the picture, to be here at 11:25 a.m.
My grandmother was diabetic, and I had an uncle who had severe diabetes. So I didn't want to be like them.
I'm very active, so I never thought that it would be me. I could remember being pre-diabetic and saying, oh, okay, it'll go away.
Being a compliant patient was not my thing for many, many years.
When you fall and you break your leg and then it causes you to have an amputation, you'll learn very quickly that you should have done something different.
When we were growing up, Grandma had a touch of sugar. They don't tell you that not only will diabetes kill your kidneys, it can take you from the best top health to the worst.
There is a diabetes crisis in South Carolina. Diabetes is the 7th leading cause of death and costs the state $6.4 billion a year. 1 out of 6 adult South Carolinians has the disease. 1 in 3 has prediabetes, which means that nearly half of the state's adult population has a problem with their blood sugar.
As we eat, food breaks down to sugar. The body's pancreas produces insulin, which is a hormone that takes the sugar from the bloodstream and pulls it into the body's cells to give us energy. But when you have diabetes, you have a problem either with type 1 diabetes not making the insulin, or with type 2 diabetes not making enough insulin. You have more sugar floating around in the blood, and that's what causes the problems that we see from diabetes.
Eye disease, kidney disease, damage to the nerves in the legs, damage to the blood vessels throughout the body, causing strokes and heart attacks and amputations. All of those things are to a large extent driven by chronically elevated sugar levels.
In the late 90s, my internist and I were arguing with each other because she was saying, "Ms. Brown, you're pre-diabetic." And I'm saying, "No, I'm not." This went on for about 1.5 years until finally, early in 2000, she says, "Ms. Brown, your numbers are inching up and we're going to have to give you medication." I did not want the medication because I knew the diagnosis of diabetes was a life sentence. But my doctor explained to me some of the things I needed to do, what the medication would do, how I needed to take it, and I tried to cope with it.
I like to have a little mayo on mine. How about you?
You know I love mayonnaise.
Well,
Black people, African Americans, and Native Americans in this country are more susceptible to developing high blood sugar if other circumstances are not favorable.
Attack, that's the word I want, attack. I was at the age of 40, about 10 years ago. I found out I was borderline diabetic. And I ended up getting tested and my sugars were high. I didn't really have insurance, so I didn't go to the doctor as needed. I was very lackadaisical in the beginning. My mother and father were diabetic, and I wasn't really following it or looking into it, but once I found out, it was very disturbing. I then started walking and drinking water, but it didn't help as much as I thought it would because I didn't change my eating habits. Once I did my aunt's eulogy, my uncle's eulogy. I actually spoke over their body, and to see them die with diabetes and COPD, it was scary for me. And I had to make a conscious decision to do better, or I wouldn't be here.
One of the main pieces of diabetes education is to help the patient change their behavior, really to change their lifestyle. These are not changes we want only just a week or two or a few months, even a year. This is a lifestyle change for the rest of their life because they're going to have diabetes for the rest of their life. So even if they get their diabetes controlled, they still need to keep in mind all of the lifestyle changes that we speak about.
I learned that I was diabetic when I was about 35 years old. It's kind of strange how I found out. My mother had been kind of locked in her room for 3 days. So we took her to the doctor to find out what was wrong. You know, of course, he's asking her questions, things like, you know, are you thirsty a lot? And she'd say yes, and I'd think, yeah, me too. He'd say, do you go to the bathroom a lot? And I'd say, yeah, me too. So pretty much everything he was asking her, I realized that I had the same symptoms. He went ahead and checked me for diabetes, checked my blood sugar at that time. My mother's was 200 and mine was 300. So she was nearly passed out at 200 and I was walking around at 300, but yes, we both had diabetes.
Until you're
really bad off. You know, your sugar's so high that your vision gets blurred, or you have a fruity fragrance in your breath. You may not know you're diabetic. You develop hardening of the arteries. The further you go away from the heart, the smaller the vessels get. And the furthest part from the heart, feet. A lot of things that predispose you to getting an infection, and first thing you know, the only realistic thing to do would be to amputate.
I had been watching my blood sugar and monitoring it. It was always a little high, 170 sometimes, maybe get up to 200 every now and again. All right, well, I traveled overseas and put in computer systems, and we were leaving the site and I fell. I thought, wow, I must have sprained my ankle. I went to see the doctor. He said, well, don't see anything on the x-ray. Let's just have you wear a boot and have you stay off of it for a while. 60 days came and I said, look, doc, it still hurts a lot. He said, okay, let's get an MRI. And he called me back in. He said, we found out it's broken. He says, the bone has died. We can't save it. He said, but we're going to try some new things and we'll see what we can do. I went online and I did my research, and we have all the data that shows that there's only a 25% chance of recovery. I knew what had to be done. I cried for 2 days. To add insult to injury here, my mother was living with me and she was in the hospital, and she died 3 days before I had my amputation. I went into severe depression, severe.
Mental health is a real thing. People who have amputations are affected by their mobility, the way that they see themselves, their level of independence, being able to drive, being able to participate in sports activities with their children. It's a really big change. It's like losing, of course, a part of yourself.
Probably 70% of my patients are diabetic. We're finding some younger people are having amputations from diabetic complications in their late 30s, 40s. I've actually seen a rise with the diabetes. I love actually helping my patients get up and gain their independence again, actually being able to help themselves at that stage.
There's gestational diabetes, which is diabetes that develops during a pregnancy, but goes away after the pregnancy. The problem is that often women get pregnant and they don't know that they have diabetes when they get pregnant, so then it becomes hard to distinguish gestational diabetes from diabetes that was present before the pregnancy.
In 1980, I became pregnant. They said I had gestational diabetes, and the doctor said, watch what you eat, you're fine. It's normal sometimes with pregnant women. I lost the baby. I got pregnant again. At that point, I was told, hey, you're pre-diabetic, watch what you eat. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to. I wouldn't listen to him. And in 2013, I went to work. All of a sudden, I got hit with body aches, fever, chills. I'm sitting up there going, what's going on here? Didn't know I was septic. Went to the doctors and he was like, hey, he said, that foot's got gangrene in it. He says, you got a choice. He says, you either let me have your foot He says, and I'll have you up and walking in 6 months. Or he says, I can let you go home and you tell all your family goodbye. I looked at him, I said, no, sir. I said, this is just my earthly body. This is not my heavenly body. I said, you can have the foot. I deal with having to do dialysis now, not knowing that the diabetes would impact the kidneys.
Dialysis treatment is a process of cleaning the blood of the toxins because your kidneys aren't working properly, and so there's no way to clear all of that from your system.
If you do have diabetes and you end up on dialysis, then that's a permanent condition. So they have to commit their lives to either coming into the center 3 times a week or doing their treatment at home every night.
There is a place in South Carolina where risk factors have come together to create a perfect storm of diabetes. 29203 is a large zip code in Columbia, South Carolina's capital city. It consists of a myriad of diverse communities, some large, some small. 29203 has a majority African American population. 30% of the residents of the area live in poverty, and it is deemed a food desert for its shortage of grocery stores. Many of the people here have diabetes, leading to a plethora of dialysis centers and one of the highest rates of diabetic amputation in the country.
The fact that 29203 achieved regional, if not national, prominence is that we are, in our state, near the bottom of the nation in the state rankings, and therefore the worst zip codes in South Carolina are likely to be some of the worst in the nation. The social determinants of health are social factors that determine risk for health and health outcomes. So there's racial disparities, there's racial discrimination, there's discrimination according to income, according to where you live.
We, in 29203, we really have a pronounced food desert. You know, it's just not easy sometimes to get to the grocery store. And the vegetables are always more expensive than the processed food. Also, mamas are working and daddies are working longer hours. People aren't having time to cook nutritious meal, so you're picking up food and bringing it home. And all of that's processed. That processed food is killing us.
I've lived in 29203 my whole life. The idea of the mobile food market came up no later than 2017, which allowed us to address food insecurity. But for the federal dollars that we got for COVID, I don't know if we would have been able to implement that program. We've tried different locations because we wanted to be successful and sustainable. In every neighborhood, particularly neighborhoods that haven't had a lot of investment, additional resources is what we need. Typically, a lot of programs, we may give them 2 or 3 years, but they don't have the sustainability because they don't have the funding. If we had more resources, I think we could definitely change the outcomes that we're having in our communities.
Your Dollar Store is a community-based grocery store that's providing a means of fresh produce and grocery items that's in an area considered a food desert, I should say. The neighbors here in this community, they love the store being here. To be able to come to a store that's in walking distance and get some fresh produce was a win-win for them, because now they don't have to catch a bus, which is money spent, or you got to catch a cab or Uber, which is money spent. If they spend at least $5 off their EBT or SNAP card, they'll then get $15 in fresh produce. I want to say thank you to Dr. Humphrey at Prisma, because he said we got a plan here. We want to use your store as a hub to provide a voucher program to send our diabetics here. So instead of going to a fast food restaurant, instead of going to get a bag of chips per se, they can come get an apple or orange or pineapple, strawberries, squash, cabbage, and so forth on.
In 1980, my goal was to see a black man lived to age 65, because they were dying before 65.
Here in Colombia, there's a 10 or more year difference in life expectancy according to what zip code you live in.
The healthcare system isn't currently set up for providing care for people without money. It's always good to have insurance and some money, the reality.
It's a big issue for us right now in dialysis is affordability, and it really just is health insurance. So you have your different groups of persons with insurance. You have your people who are working, who are employed. You have your retired population. They generally have their Medicare. They typically will always have a secondary. And then you have your group of persons who come in and they only have Medicaid. Medicaid is limited in what they pay for, and you can't use it outside of South Carolina. But I will say that when people come from other states to South Carolina and they compare the Medicaid in New York or California or even North Carolina, they typically go back.
Accepting Medicaid expansion is, to me, a no-brainer. It would support care for about 350,000 people in South Carolina who have very inadequate care right now.
Because South Carolina did not expand Medicaid, we still have a large portion of individuals in our state who are uninsured. And that is where we as Cooperative Health can help support individuals who don't have insurance.
Cooperative Health, we try and provide compassionate health care, respectable health care in the spirit of the Good Samaritan. And especially with pediatrics, we have our Eau Claire High School, which is essentially across the street from our Eau Claire Neighborhood Health Center. And so being able to provide accessible, excellent health care to the children in the community to try and help them establish themselves for a great future is an important part that we provide. We've been in the 29203 zip code since 1981. There still is a desert in some respect as it relates to healthcare services. And as a community health center, not only can we take the traditional insurance, Medicare and Medicaid, but we also have a sliding fee for our patients that are uninsured. So it has been our hope that we can be able to help our patients wherever they are to maximize their health status. Diabetes is really challenging. We have maybe about 25,000 adult patients that we take care of, and about 5,000 have a diagnosis of diabetes. Starting in January 2023, we onboarded our virtual diabetes program, and it has been a smashing success.
Hello, pharmacy?
Our goal was to be able to bring everything together, that our clinician is in sync with our pharmacy, our clinicians in sync with our behavioral medicine support, is in sync with our diabetes education, and they're a team that's able to work together as a unit.
Today we're just going to talk a little bit about sugar in our drinks and how much sugar is in some of the drinks that you might be consuming, because
I love my job as a diabetes educator. It's very patient-centered and trying to help them figure out how does this apply to their life, and really just seeing the patients do the work.
You might have somebody who's drinking 6 sodas a day and they're not willing to give up that habit.
It's gonna be a little adjustment then.
Also helping them to make these changes in small steps so that it's more easily done, and then they can kind of see the impact of it, realize how much better they're going to feel if they start cutting these sodas out, their blood sugar start to improve, and I think then a lot of times it kind of falls in place from there.
Hey!
Welcome, good to see you.
Miss Knight, she always left me in charge of my body. And so I always felt like we were kind of hooked together in my pursuit of wellness. These people were like my team. They were like my friends. They really showed that they cared about how I was doing. So I had a kind of support that I had never had before. And that made a big difference in me being able to finally, after 35 years, get my blood sugar under control.
I talk to the youngsters all the time about their lifestyle because they want to eat the Twinkies, they want to drink the sodas, and with playing football, you can't do all that because you get cramps, you get tired quicker. So I speak about it every day to them. Some of them know I have diabetes and some of them don't, but I do wear my patch, my insulin pen, so sometimes they ask. And sometimes I'll volunteer and let them know, you don't want to get one of these.
So, you know what's going to be important, your first step, right?
People under the age of 20 within the next 40 years, their rates of diabetes are expected to go up by 700%. So, and that's not just in 29203, that's just a national statistic. Diabetes is preventable, but you have to catch it either in the pre-diabetes stage or before the person, gets diagnosed.
New agents, they're called GLP-1 agonists, have the capacity to address some of the fundamental drivers of type 2 diabetes and obesity. There's all kinds of problems with expense issues, coverage issues, but those will change with time, and I think these are a revolution. Diabetes Free SC began 4 years ago. Blue Cross executive walks into my office, says, we want to deploy our foundation monies, not all of them, but a significant amount. And I became involved with it and became the medical director because I thought it was such an extraordinary, surprising, visionary thing. So in our work, we're really trying to knit people together. We're trying to break down silos. Patients need coordinated, intercommunicative, team-based care. We have the potential to be a leader in the nation, to show how things can be done, to win the fight against diabetes in South Carolina.
I wanted to do something where I could get around and do things. I thought about a golf cart, but I thought, I was a farmer when I was young. I think I want to do some more farming again. So I bought a tractor. And that has been one of the best things I've ever done. It's just, that almost defines who I am now. I'm just a little guy on the tractor. And my wife says, oh God, here he comes to that tractor again. He's probably gonna dig another hole and fill it back in. Well, at least it's something I can do, So I'm happy.
Your blood sugar is beautiful.
When your blood sugar is up, it can change your mental state. And one of the things that I have wrestled with for many years is depression. And I have found, since my blood sugar is on key now, on level, that I'm not as depressed as I had been before, which is a miracle for me because I've spent so much of my life in that state.
Would you like a little ice in it?
Very little.
Justine is my sister-in-law. We plan meals together, we do family dinners, we consider ourselves the matriarchs of the family now, and we're trying to set the example for the younger ones to follow. The family members have a propensity for gaining weight. The family members have a propensity for being diabetic.
We do eat a lot of meals together, so we try to make them as healthy and as satisfying as possible, realizing that our health is important.
Cheers to you.
And cheers to you.
That's good.
It's a big subject because no one really cares. I don't think they care or really see what it can do. I'm grateful, I'm thankful that I took control of my health, and I'm still working on it. It's a challenging situation to be able to check your sugars every day and to take your insulin every day, and I'm just happy to have the chance to get it right.
There we go.
I had to learn how to communicate. I had to learn to communicate with others so that they could communicate with me.
I've been looking for something to do and some place to go,
I don't forget that I'm diabetic. I don't forget that I wear a prosthesis. I don't forget that I am on dialysis. No woe is me. Yay, it's me. I learned how to live again. And it may be minus a few things, but I'm living.
Bingo.
The son of Carolina mounts the eastern sky. Proudly stands our alma mater on the hilltop high. Arch maroon floats foray, Claflin fair o'er thee. May we all be leal and loyal to thy memory.
My name is Dewan Wormack, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the 9th president at this historic institution. We're the #1 ranked historically black college university in the state of South Carolina and top 10 in the country. And so what makes us special is the people. It is the people that buy into the culture, it is the people that buy into the mission, and it's the people that buy into the vision. Social justice is our focal point as an institution. Mass incarceration is a social justice issue. Healthcare disparities is a social justice issue. So the university has put resources to ensure that we do everything in our power to combat some of those healthcare disparities. Our intentional focus, 100% of it is ensuring that our community is safe and well. And when I say well, holistically, we began to look at some data impacting African Americans in Orangeburg County, and we began to think about our own family trajectory. And I talked about my mother dying from hypertension, my grandmother dying from hypertension, my grandfather passed from hypertension, and how it's generational in our communities, but not talking about the preventative work that comes behind it. And so I approached our computer science faculty member, Dr. Lyles, and said, hey, I want to do something very creative and innovative, something that can really combat healthcare disparities, but is also to infusing technology in that work.
I am Karina Lyles, and I chair the Department of Math and Computer Science, and I'm also an Associate Professor of Computer Science at Claflin University. Computer science is a way for us to build solutions to everyday problems. We have a very forward-thinking president, and so it's very easy to get him on board with the smart home. We met and talked about things that we could do as a university to make an impact in our community because we understand that we have a purpose here. I presented him the ideal about the smart home, and he loved it.
We purchased a home in the community, and within that home, we began to invest all of the technology that is there.
It's very important for the smart home to be a home and not a house because we want this health consciousness to just be a part of everyone's life. We're really trying to shift lifestyles here. Imagine going into your home, but then having the additional amenities that'll help support the things that you need to do to take care of your health and well-being. Imagine walking into the living room, taking your blood pressure, then realizing it's elevated. The house will recognize that as well. It might dim the lights, and it might change the colors of the lights, and then it might also play soothing music. While the home is doing these things in response to your medical state, it's also informing you. So we have the displays around the house because that's the way to engage and interface with the user. The house will alert you that your blood pressure is elevated and then also give some recommendations and things that you can do to alleviate this issue. Now let's imagine you woke up from a night's rest and you got up as you normally do to get ready for work or to get ready for school or just to start your day. When you go into the bathroom, the smart mirror gives you all of your sleep stats. And it shows the graphs, it shows the charts, it tells you the cycles of sleep that you were in and how long you were in those stages. It tells you how much you might have snored. It takes the information from the bed and then it makes sense of it to tell you slept well last night, or if you didn't, here are some things that you might want to do to get through your day. So you might want to think about reordering your to-do list, because something that requires more cognitive load might not be what you want to start out with, because it's just going to make you more drained and more tired. If you go into your bedroom, there's a workout mirror. The workout mirror allows for the cardio workout, but it also allows for meditation and yoga. A big part of the smart home is providing that health education. There are going to be times when someone might need to go to the hospital or to visit their doctor, and there may be times when you might just need to relax. And so giving them that education will help them to determine when it's time to seek medical attention or when there's some things that we can do at the home for self-care. We want to rely on the community of the individual to give them the best services possible. And so with the smart home, this data about your health can be sent directly to your health care provider. It can be sent to your doctor or your nurse or even a family member who might be monitoring your health. It allows that open line of communication, but it allows that transparency that doctors sometimes need. Or sometimes we might not think of things that we should share with our doctor, but the information is there now because the house has already sent that information over, so they know what to look for, even if we don't know what to disclose.
Oftentimes you hear these studies that are impacting large metropolitan areas. Then if you extrapolate the data, you don't have a large African-American data set. And then extrapolate it further in rural America. So we want to be the thought leader in the country to be able to provide the data set. It is our hope that this data set will allow folks to make more informed medical decisions, but it's also preventative health decisions as well.
I am Shamaria Sherman, a senior computer science major here at Claflin, and I am a smart home researcher and team lead of the robotics team. Growing up in my family, I was always known as the tech-savvy person, fixing the computers, downloading all the softwares. So it was always my niche. As a researcher, our job is to always research and develop ways to basically help our community's well-being. So currently, I am working on a project called the Nutrition Label Analyzer. The goal of the analyzer is to basically analyze labels and make it easier for users to understand, to increase their nutritional awareness. When you're grocery shopping and you're purchasing things in the store, there's this propaganda of, oh, it's no sugar, but there's actually more harmful ingredients. And so if you don't know what's harming you, you can't make better decisions. So the goal is just for everyone to make better dietary choices to help these chronic illnesses and health issues. It's connected from a personal experience. My grandfather had cancer and my grandmother has hypertension. So it's like growing up, I knew they had these issues, but I didn't know the answers, or I didn't know why or what was causing it. So doing this research kind of gives me a lens to see, okay, this is what's harming our community, and maybe I can help fix this or develop a solution that could help other African Americans.
I think the smart home plays a critical part in closing the gaps for health disparities in rural areas, because one important thing is that we are the minority researchers doing the work. So a lot of this work hits close to home to us. We see our family members and our loved ones who are dealing with a lot of these ailments, if it's not us ourselves. We're driven by a different purpose.
Working with Dr. Lyles has been an amazing experience. She's like a second mother to me. She's really focused on just us growing and evolving. Coming from behind the computers, developing this project, being in a smart home where I'm actually able to test my products, it just gives me like a sense of comfort, that push that, I can help my community and I can actually see it. I think my biggest lesson working in a smart home is that effective research starts with identifying real life issues and targeting solutions at those issues. So being in the smart home is unique because I'm actually able to test these products that I'm developing with my community, with my peers, and with my school to actually see if it's working or if it's not working and how I can improve that.
There's been a long-standing concern with healthcare in the African American community, even more so in rural communities. And we recognize that, and we're very careful about the programs that we design. This is an interdisciplinary project, so we include majors from the humanities department, so we include psychology majors, because one important factor is understanding the human's connection to the technology that's around them. We naturally have the computer science students writing the programs. We naturally have computer engineering students developing the hardware and the products, but This information is informed by biology students and nursing students. We also have art students who've decorated the home with their artwork, but even more, they're helping us develop the user interfaces. We actually have a cybersecurity program here at Claflin University, and those students are particularly focused on dealing with the security and privacy that could pertain around the data that happens in this home.
I think working with other majors is great because it allows different points of views. Working with someone from biology, they could bring in the genetics, like the health issues. So I just think it brings a general view of the world, and we can all collaborate to make better choices, developments in the world.
With the home, while we bought a lot of technologies off the shelf, the goal is to have our students develop these technologies and develop different technologies that cater specifically to the minority communities. And with that, we'll be able to scale those products so they would be accessible and available to all. Right now, we are in the early phases of development. Students are building their prototypes and testing them out. Eventually, we will have this space open to the community so that they can actually use the products in their final stages.
I see Smart Home impacting the community just as a health resource for the community to serve them and educate them whenever they need. And it's not only just for health-related education, but it just also gives the community the support to see how to handle these health disparities in their home and starting where they're at with their health journeys.
Our Smart Home is the first and only smart home that is dedicated to combat health disparities for minority communities. We are also the only physical home in the state of South Carolina. We're now able to be a showpiece for other schools and other universities to get ideas and think about things that they might be able to do in their areas. Claflin allows that space to be innovative and do that. President Wormack pushes transformation and elevation, and the Smart Home is a product of that agenda.
How do we see this thing from a theoretical perspective and have the research and the data, but also practical? How do we have folks to be able to say, I can live this healthy life by seeing it for myself? Our goal is to become an international model that we can show, hey, based on this work that is happening in the metropolitan of Orangeburg, South Carolina, and this rural America, that you can do this anywhere.
I started this business about 3 years ago. The whole reason I started was because I always had a passion for art and woodworking. I've been doing fine woodworking for approximately 31 years now. I think the reason I love working wood so much is because each piece of wood is unique. I sort of joke to friends of mine saying that the wood sort of speaks to me, and it really does, because I can work on a piece and I may think that I'm going to carve this into some sort of maybe a jewelry box, and then right in the middle of it I'll say, no, I think that would actually be better with this thing or that thing or whatever, just by the grain pattern and stuff. My most favorite piece of work that I've done was a clock that I built for my father, who passed away a couple years ago. It was very special to me because he was my hero, and I wanted to build something that was very, very unique. And he was from Alberobello, Italy. And I actually built this clock, and I carved the face of the clock that looks like his hometown. And when I presented it to him, he was pretty overwhelmed. It was just a great feeling. I'm not doing it for the money. I do this because of the passion that I have for my art. When people come up to my booth and see a piece of art, and they fall in love with it and they want to buy it, and they spend money on it, to me it's like, oh, that's so cool. It brings me back to the day when I was a musician, and hearing people clap when you get done playing a song. It's like, ooh, it's that rush, you know. People that live here, they want to see something different. They want to see something unique, and rather than going down to the local box stores or supermarkets and such to shop, having crafters and artists locally is very appealing to individuals like that. When I go out, I love to see original work and original art pieces. And from speaking with a lot of my customers, they feel the same way.
You're watching ETV World. Programs on ETV World are made possible in part by the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
Hello, I'm Beryl Dakers. Thank you for watching ETV. A primary focus here at the network has always been to produce local programs that enlighten you about our state, its history, its culture, its triumphs, and yes, even its challenges. That's ETV's core mission, and quite frankly, there's no other organization better able to do it. Since 1977, it has been my honor and privilege to have personally produced many of our local programs. Shows that centered on the arts, music, natural history, social issues, politics, and of course our shared culture, subjects of particular interest to me. Series like Nature Scene, Art's the Thing, and What in the World Is It? Documentaries like When the Mill Closes Down, Jenkins Orphanage Band, Praise House, Sacred Spaces, No Place to Call Home, and Sisterhood, South Carolina Suffragist. Profiles of Strom Thurmond and Majeska Simpkins, The Art of Leo Twiggs and Jonathan Green, just to name a few. Viewer donations to our ETV endowment have allowed ETV and me to capture so many of South Carolina's stories and preserve them for posterity. If you're already a supporter, thank you so much for your endorsement. On the other hand, if you've enjoyed a local production recently, learned something new about our state, yet still haven't contributed, please take this opportunity to do so. There are many more stories to tell, and your gift will help us tell them. Call or text the word GIVE to 800-256-8535. Scan the QR code on your screen, or donate securely at our website, scetv.org. And thank you so much for investing in local programs produced right here on ETV.
Midsummer Murders is one of the most popular crime dramas of all time.
A world full of extraordinary characters.
And it's celebrating 25 magical years.
It's a light-hearted show.
We kill people with cheese. Death by chocolate. Go behind the scenes to discover why we still can't get enough.
What's not to like about Midsummer, as long as you survive it, really?
Midsummer Murders, 25 years of mayhem.
Wednesday at 11 p.m. on ETV World.
Get social and follow SCETV and Public Radio on the following platforms.
This is ETV World. Programs on ETV World are made possible in part by the ETV Endowment of South Carolina.
Funding for this program provided by
Can looking back push us forward?
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Billie Holiday.
Will our voice be heard through time? Can our past inspire our future?
Massive act of concern.
From our farms and cities to the Great Lakes, WPS serves seniors across the country. WPS, serving our military and seniors since 1946.
For more than 25 years, Humana Military has cared for America's service members, their families, and their communities.
Additional support provided by
Too frequently, we're saying goodbye to the veterans and survivors of World War II. Those who sacrificed so much in a global war for democracy fought on many fronts. The stories shared from this war are often told by the men and boys who fought it, from the generals to the GIs. World War II's victory, and in other nations its defeat, was also witnessed by and achieved through the extraordinary efforts of women. From the factories to the military bases and the home front. It was also her war and her story. World War II.
General Eisenhower said, "The Army needs and can use all it can get." Who are the women who will help retain the needed manpower for the production battle at home? Who are the women who will help fight our country's war?
We are in the machine shop, in the repair shop. We rig the parachute. We guide our flyers home.
At air bases here and overseas, women soldiers perform over 25 technical jobs. Ladies and gentlemen, General Marshall.
The Women's Army Corps is an integral part of the Army of the United States, and its members, who are soldiers in every sense of the word, perform a full military part in this war. There are hundreds of important Army jobs which women can perform as effectively as men. In fact, we find that they can do some of these jobs much better than the men. As more and more American soldiers engage the enemy in combat, women must replace them at overseas bases and at posts in this country.
Everybody was doing something. Everybody was happy to do something. They wanted to do things, and it was the most patriotic time I've ever lived through.
We had to help. I mean, that was it. That was our goal.
It had a great feeling for me that I was doing something worthwhile with my life.
During the last 2 weeks in August, the German armies moved toward the Polish border, where they assembled 70 divisions, many of them armored.
On September 1st, 1939, Adolf Hitler's invasion of Poland was the spark that ignited a world war in Europe. Just 2 years later, Japan attacked the United States Pacific Fleet at Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. After that, America could no longer sit on the sidelines of this global conflict.
No matter how long it may take us to overcome this premeditated invasion, the American people in their righteous might will win through to absolute victory.
Even as President Roosevelt's words echoed across the radio, hundreds of thousands were already signing up for what was now indeed a global war. Patriotic teenage boys and young men headed off to training, preparing them for the war in the Pacific and Europe. But who would now step into the shoes of these new American soldiers, sailors, Marines, and airmen, and produce the tools of war needed to defeat the enemy? It would be the same people who had been doing it in England since 1940. millions of women. A comparable outcry was now coming from the United States. Train us to do the work. Give us the opportunity. Allow us to help win this war. Like their English counterparts, American women were not allowed to serve in actual combat. But they found their footing during the Second World War in the factories or on the home front. Hundreds of thousands of women also put on the uniform in military support roles.
It was hard talking about it. It was almost like it was a forbidden subject and I should never talk about it. So, but plus in the meantime, it was easy to keep it a secret because nobody asked. Nobody remembered that sort of thing for years and years. It wasn't even discussed.
Satisfied they had created the right sense of fear in the world, the Nazi leaders were now ready to strike. The hour had come. It was time to start conquering Eastern Europe.
Long before the United States ever thought of getting involved in another world war, Adolf Hitler's Germany was already quietly killing tens of thousands of people in Europe. In the 1930s, Germany's Nazi Party targeted Jews, gypsies, homosexuals, political adversaries, and the disabled for death. All part of Hitler's plan for a master race. Irmgard Schmidt was a schoolgirl in Germany and witnessed the rise of Nazism.
Opposite the church was a synagogue, and it was, all the doors were boarded up, and the Jews had sort of disappeared. There were none in our school anymore, no Jewish school children, and they were, by that time, wearing yellow stars.
Those wearing the yellow stars of David were destined for concentration or death camps, with names such as Treblinka, Dachau, Buchenwald, and eventually Auschwitz. If you were young and non-Aryan in the late 1930s, a slave labor camp was most likely your first stop in Germany. Anna Arbeiter, Jewish, ended up at one in Poland. The Nazis planned to work the teenager to death.
I came into Stachowitz, they put me in the kitchen, to work. We did the tables, we washed the dishes, I cleaned the room for the Germans, and I helped them out. I worked there maybe for, a half a year.
Meanwhile, for German schoolgirl Irmgard Schmidt, life under Nazi control was part of her daily routine. German propaganda was everywhere.
I was 9 years old. Uniformed men came to our school and put up posters of inscribed posters saying, "Die Juden sind unser Unglück," meaning the Jews are our downfall.
Everyday Germans were training to become hardcore Nazis, especially young boys and girls. Parents were blamed if a child resisted.
I was a Hitler Youth, but not by so much by choice. You had to. Every teenager, everybody had to join the Hitler Youth. It was automatic. You had no other choice.